Hello, students. For today's discussion, we will be discussing the lesson 6 of our this subject, the science and technology, education, and indigenous practices in the Philippines. So this lesson explores the rich intersection of science education, technological advancement, and the invaluable indigenous practices that have shaped our country, Philippines. This lesson highlights the dual foundations of scientific progress in the Philippines, from formal science education and indigenous knowledge system. Modern science equips us with tools, technologies, and structured methods, while indigenous practices carry wisdom tested over and over centuries, often in harmony with nature. And combining these two, it allows us Filipinos to advance technologically without losing cultural roots. Our aim in this lesson is to provide a profound comprehension of cultural diversity, significance, and the vital role of indigenous practices in our country, playing and shaping science and technology. Just like, now, for example, think of herbal medicine. Doctors prescribe modern pharmaceuticals, but many rural communities still rely on herbal medicines, such as, for instance, the lagundi for cough and sambong for kidney stones. And these are recognized by the DOH as legitimate herbal medicines, showing how indigenous knowledge complements modern science. So here are our learning objectives for today's discussion. At the end of the lesson, you will be able to identify the government science and technology programs that support science education in the Philippines. Indigenous science concept discusses the fundamental concept of indigenous knowledge, science, and unique methodologies. Identify the key beliefs and practices that inform scientific understanding, and lastly, discuss the contributions of indigenous science to modern science. Class, these outcomes ensure you that you can see science not just a school subject, but a living system influencing both global and local knowledge. Let's discuss first the foundation and future of science education of our country. The science education in the Philippines, it has been institutionalized or formalized last 100th century. It was established in the late 1900s. And today, it's embedded now in the K to 12 curriculum, college program, and research universities. And the goal is to raise scientifically literate citizens who can solve modern problems like climate change, food security, and public health. And class, science education, this subject and this because this subject itself can be part of science education, it prepares Filipino citizens for a world increasingly shaped by science and technology, aiming to develop skills necessary to thrive in what night. And also, this lesson provides an overview of these efforts, highlighting strategies to effectively teach science and engage students, fostering a deeper appreciation for science societal role and equipping citizens to contribute national progress. For instance, during COVID-19 pandemic, the importance of science education became clear. Filipino scientists from universities guided our government responses, developed testing kits, and provided data analysis to understand the spread of the virus. Next, We will be discussing the um, the hub of scientific excellence, which is the University of the Philippines. As we all know, um, we have I mean I can't know the exact number of how many UP University of the Philippines meron tayo, but the mean is UP Diliman, and UP, or the University of the Philippines, stands as the um okay, wait for a while. Stands the nation's premier university, widely recognized for its extensive array of science degree programs from undergraduate. And the UP, stands as the country's leading institution. It offers diverse degree program, especially in physics, biology, chemistry, engineering, and health sciences. And UP also houses world-class facilities. For instance, example, the Philippine Genome Center and the National Science Complex. In 2020, UP scientists developed COVID-19 kits that were cheaper, cheaper and faster than the imported ones, showing how local research directly benefits society. And the UP National Science Complex serves as the core of national science and technology activities, driving breakthroughs and collaborations. And UP's unwavering commitment to excellence solidifies its role as invaluable resource for scientific development. Aside from the University of the Philippines as the hub of scientific excellence, we have the UST Scholarship. We have the UST Scholarship, and we should thank our I think it was under the Duterte's administration who in, who ensured that there is a need to allocate more funds for the UST. And because of that, no, based on what I have observed, before, I mean, on our time, we only have one scholarship for the UST, and under Duterte's administration, because of more allocation, and there is a need to have more scholars under the UST to promote to ensure that we could have produce graduates that align to science and technology. That's why we have this JLSS program in which a incoming third year student can apply for the USC scholar, even though they're in college already. Aside from that, the DOSC scholar was separated into two. We have the full merit and the Republic Act. This is a call to ensure that there is no bias, because before, DOSC scholar relies on the examination only, and the background status, the socioeconomic status of the family, they did not consider that one. So a well what do you call that one? A capable student can apply a DOS scholar and can be a DOS scholar even though they are they have enough money to suffice their college, or they have enough fund to enroll in a better university, but still they could be a DOS scholar, because one of the major requirements of the DOS scholar before is to pass the exam. But right now, because there is a need to call that we should prioritize those low income family, students who came from low income families. That's why it was separated. It was under Republic Act. And of course, to ensure also that those brilliant students, even though they are capable of to fund their college, they are under in the full merit. So the full merit at the Republic Act, they have different stipend, and still those students who are already rich enough but still wanted to be a DOST scholar, they can still apply for the scholarship. And this DUST scholarship, it's a great opportunity to those brilliant students who are what they call that one, who are very brilliant in the field of science and technology, but there's no enough source of fund to enroll in that kind of university. And it's a good program of the government, and it really provide financial support to deserving Filipino students. However, the program is limited only. I mean, the program or course no, for these DOS scholars are limited only for science, technology, and engineering mathematics in the leading universities nationwide. And there's a requirement since you if you pass the DOS scholar, there you need to enroll to a level 3, at least level 3 um status for this program, no, in that school. That's why some students, even though they pass the UST, and example, we are in Davao, but your program and the school, there's no available school offered your course who are in level 3. So you can transfer to another universities or in Luzon, because there are a lot of universities in Luzon that that I mean level 3, minimum of level 3 status. However, this DOST scholar, there is a return service agreement. Upon graduation, DOST scholars commit to serve the country by working in the Philippines for several years. I think it's 5 years contract. So once you are a DOST scholar, you cannot work abroad after graduation. You need to work here in the Philippines, even though it's public or private, as long as in the Philippines. Next, the science education and basic education. At the basic education level, it's a critical component of the Philippine national curriculum integrated within the K-12 curriculum, and it's there are challenges encountered by these science education schools, especially the resources and the equipment limitations. That's why significant efforts are underway to enhance basic education. This includes professional development programs for teachers and access to quality science instruction. And the government has implemented various programs to promote science education. That's why also the you can observe that every region in our country, Philippines, there is a Philippine Science High School, and it offers an intensive STEM curriculum to highly motivated and talented students nationwide. These students from Philippine Science High School, the curriculum prepared these students to be a future scientist. And the Department of Education also uh supports our teacher for training, curriculum material development, science fairs, and also private schools further contribute by offering specialized STEM programs and hands-on science opportunities. And take note also, if you observe in the K-12 curriculum, science is a key part of this K-12 curriculum. Students learn biology, physics, chemistry, and earth science through hands-on experiments and real-world applications. And the government also invests teaching training for teachers. However, there are problems with regard on the public high schools. Kasi I'm not saying that there is a discrimination or between a science high school and a normal public school. We know that the government put a lot of effort and more funding for National Science High School compared to in normal public high school. If you try to observe a public high school, limited resources, especially materials for laboratory, some students um, dun, ano, din, they um, they don't have access to laboratory equipments because in the first place they don't have laboratory facilities in the public high schools. Maybe those students from STE sections or pilot sections, they can experience that kind of laboratory. But how about those students who are in the general section? I do believe that these students are deprived from hands-on activities because they don't have enough facilities. These public high schools, es- especially in the far-flung areas, in which the access of more resources, especially in science, is very limited. And I do hope that the government can still look into that kind of that problem, especially in those rural high schools, because it needs more attention. Next, let's discuss the pioneering science high schools. These are the high schools that was built before. No, these are the first ever science high school built in our country, Philippines. The PSHS, the Philippine Science High School System, it's an elite STEM school producing future scientists and engineers. It's a public high school system dedicated to provide quality education for highly motivated and talented learner interested in STEM. We also have the Regional Science High School, a network of science-oriented public secondary schools by DepEd, aiming to provide quality STEM education to deserving students across regions. And we also have Special Science Education Project, enriches regular schools with advanced science program. That's why in the this science high school, if you have observed this one, they have this kind of investigatory projects like creating, example, biodegradable plastics from rice husk, combining science, innovation, and local resources. No, however, if you are in the general section, I don't think you have this kind of investigatory project because I can observe that more likely those sections under pilot and STE sections, they have this kind of investigatory projects. We also have the leading institutions in STEM education. Top STEM schools include Quezon City Regional Science High School, Manila Science High School, Central Visayan Institute Foundation, and these schools emphasize research, innovation, and real-world application of science. Math science students once created a low-cost water filtration system for households in flood-prone areas, addressing a community problem through scientific learning. So at this very level, high school level, they were able to innovate something that could contribute to their community. And that is one of the call of this science education. Let's proceed now to the indigenous science. Before the Spaniards came here to sa ating country, we do believe that there's already Filipinos living here. And they are what we call our Katutubo and these indigenous people. And of course, before the Spaniards came, science technology is already there, especially in their tribes. Indigenous science is a traditional knowledge that is passed down through generations, often involving astronomy, agriculture, medicine, and ecology. It is a holistic representing science and environment, emphasizing sustainable living. Unlike modern science, it is often compartmentalized. Indigenous science integrates spiritual, cultural, and ecological dimensions. For example, the Ifugao rice terraces are not just agricultural structures. They reflect indigenous engineering, astronomy, such as planting cycles based on stars, and sustainable resource management. And let us discuss the three pillars of indigenous science in the Philippines. According to Pawilin 2006, we have this framework for understanding the indigenous science, and there are three components. First, traditional knowledge. Second, science, process, skills, and tools. And lastly, community culture and values. Let's discuss traditional knowledge. The wisdom, the practices, the belief that has passed down through generations based on a long-standing observation and empirical evidences. For instance, the herbal medicine and farming techniques from our indigenous people, it has been passed down from generation to generation. We also have science process skills and tools like the methodologies, observation, experimentation, data collection, critical thinking, and problem solving. Next, community, culture, and values, the beliefs, rituals, and respect for nature. This ensures that there is a balance between practical survival and cultural identity. Now, let me give you a scenario. Many fishing communities practice seasonal bans on catching a certain fish, like, for example, catching sardines during spawning season. This is a traditional conservation method, an indigenous science practice that aligns with modern science principles of sustainable fishing. Um, Another example, before, of course, there's no presence of pag-asa. How do these indigenous people predict that there is an coming delubio or bagyo? Some indigenous people, they observe based on the example, the behavior patterns of the birds, no? Sometimes the behavior of the animals. If there's something wrong that they have observed in their animals, such as sa mga birds, like why is there so many birds in the flying birds? Flying birds. So there might be a possibility that there will be a storm coming, so that locals can prepare, especially if there is a if they are located in a flood prone area. Take note, there is no flood control project before. Now, science and education, science technology education in our country, it prepares us to face demands of modern knowledge, and through the strong government initiatives, scholarships, and specialized schools, young Filipinos are empowered, these students, to pursue careers in STEM to national progress and innovation. At the same time, indigenous knowledge serves as a reminder that wisdom is not the only found laboratories and classrooms, but also these are lived experiences of our communities who have observed, experimented, and adapted nature for centuries. The two pillars, the formal science education and indigenous practices, this must be integrated. The Philippine gains a holistic approach to problem solving. Together, it shaped uniquely Filipino path for the scientific development that values both progress. No? Just like what I based on my example earlier, during typhoons, meteorologists rely on advanced technology like Doppler radars and satellite images to forecast rainstorms. However, in our rural areas, farmers and fisher folks observe natural indicators, just like what I mentioned earlier, the behavior of the birds, sudden silence of crickets, unusual cloud patterns to anticipate bad weather. When combined, both modern and indigenous knowledge provide communities with more reliable ways to prepare and stay safe.